So they said they would do it. I talked about how they said they would do it. Some people believed that they would do it. Other people had a little bit of copium going on and said, no, they're not going to do it. And it turns out they did it. Nintendo has bricked a few Switches already. Switch 2s already. The Switch 2 has been out for like 2 weeks, guys. The Switch 2 has been out for like 2 weeks. And Nintendo has already bricked, or at least like the article that I read that was talking about this said they banned the Switch 2 consoles, but I mean, what's the difference here? It seems to be like the difference here is really in the fact that they have prevented these Switch 2 consoles from being able to access like online services, which is kind of vital in the way that a lot of these things run now, since a lot of this, like a lot of games now require access to the internet in order to be able to play the game, because they're double checking the license and they're doing this and they're doing that and blah blah blah. It's their way of controlling and preventing piracy and all this extra stuff. But yeah, a lot of people on Twitter and on Reddit are reporting that their Switch 2s have been banned, and they can no longer use them to play games after using what is called a MIG flash device. Effectively, what it is a device that you can take the cartridges that the Switch 2 games are on and then use them to back up the game onto a separate device, onto this MIG flash device, and that MIG flash device can hold several games. And you can switch between the games, and you can use it to... It basically pretends to be one of the Switch cartridges and acts as whatever game it is you wanted to play. So what this did was notionally, like, in advertising and in the legal type of way that they're talking about it, this is meant as a way that you can back up all the games that you bought onto a single device. It makes it really easy to, plug in this one device, and like the new version of it has an easy switch button where you press a button and now it's pretending to be the next game, et cetera, et cetera. And you back up your games so you don't have to worry about having, a case full of cartridges that you plug into your Switch, and it keeps it a little bit safer. And if the cartridge gets lost, you still have this MIG flash device, et cetera, et cetera. On their website, on the MIG flash device website, they strongly encourage that you only dump the games that you have legal ownership of. Only dump the games that you have legally bought. But very obviously that this can be used as a way to pirate games. You get a pirated ROM of the game, and you put it on this MIG flash device, and now all of a sudden you can use the MIG flash device to pirate the game. Apparently, a lot of people also use it as a way to play like retro Nintendo games on a Switch, because the way that it works, that you can also get like retro games that might not be available on Switch, and play them on your Switch and on your Switch 2. But because this is a third-party device, the Nintendo Switch's like whatever anti-piracy methods, whatever it is that they got with the stuff that was discussed in like this new EULA and discussed in their whole "we're gonna break your devices." Holy fuck! Why is this Meteor so loud? All these different things, these different protections they're implementing to stop piracy and stop game piracy that were very, very broad, as I discussed in my previous video. They are very broad to the point where it says just the use of a third-party device, just the use of something that isn't officially approved by Nintendo is a good enough reason to break your Switch. They don't have to prove that you are pirating games. They don't have to prove that you're doing anything. Just for any reason, effectively, they could do it. And that might be what's happening here. Now, some of these people that are saying, hey, Nintendo bricked my device, are claiming that these were legal dumps. These were games that they had access to, that they owned, that they put on the flash device, and now all of a sudden Nintendo's telling them they can no longer use their Switch. They can no longer access online services on their Switch. The one picture I saw, it says error code 2124 TAC 4508. The use of online services on this console is currently restricted by Nintendo. It's tough to say whether or not these people are being honest. It's tough to say whether or not these people are being honest and were in fact only using their MIG flash devices in order to play games that they had already had, that they dumped their own cartridges onto this MIG flash device, or playing games they had legal access to. It would also, I imagine, be kind of hard for Nintendo to verify. And I might be wrong here. I might be entirely wrong here, but it might be very hard for Nintendo to verify whether or not it is one that they had access to, or not, whether it was their legal device or not. But because of like the very broad language that Nintendo used in their EULA to determine what they are allowed to ban you for and ban your account for and break your device for, they can do it. It's the use of a third-party device, even if it was being used entirely for games, for cartridges that the person had already bought. That's what Nintendo put into the EULA. So it's kind of like this mixed bag to me, the way I feel about it. Nintendo should not be able to just brick your device because you used a third-party device. Nintendo, I mean, that flies in the face of like the concept of like right to repair laws and just the concept of ownership of the things that you buy. If you are using a console, or if you own a console, Nintendo should not, or the person who sold you the console shouldn't have the right to tell you how to use that console. If they want to fight piracy, that's one thing. I'm fine with them fighting piracy in different ways, but it's seeming like the ways that they are fighting piracy is by taking away your rights as a consumer. And this is just more of a testament to this, because if it is true that these people were, or at least some of these people that had their devices, at least some of these people that had their devices bricked were in fact using them legally. They were in fact buying the games, backing them up onto the MIG Flash device, and using the MIG Flash device to play the game. And Nintendo's just like, but that's a third-party device, so you're screwed. That should not be legal. And the fact that really a lot of times to use a lot of consoles nowadays and use a lot of these devices nowadays, you need to have access to the internet services that they're providing. The whole argument of, all we're doing is taking away their access to our online services. By taking away access to the online services, you're effectively taking away access to the device. You're taking away use of the device, and that is not right. That's not just. It's, again, I would want to see proof on both sides. I would want to see Nintendo providing some way of proving that these devices are using pirated copies of the games, or I kind of want to see, before these people start crying about, oh my god, my device got bricked, I would want to see them have proof that they own the games that were on the Flash device before I'd give them a whole lot of sympathy, because I'm inherently skeptical about this. I think a large majority of the people, or at least a good portion of the people that are having their devices bricked, they might have a pirated copy of a game or two, but I also think there's probably a good bit of people that are having their devices bricked by this that bought the games legally, are using the MIG Flash device to back up their games, and are now being told, like, hey, since it's a third-party device, you're screwed. And ultimately, I believe that it's not fair that Nintendo is using such a broad range of rules to decide how you get to use your device. If I buy a hammer from Craftsman doesn't get to go ahead and say, okay, but you only get to use this set of nails. You only get to use Craftsman branded nails and Craftsman third-party nails and stuff like that. No, that's not how this works. That's not how consumerism works. That's not how the world works. It's insane that Nintendo thinks they can do this. It's insane that they are actually acting on it. If they have some method of actually detecting and making sure that these are pirated versions of the games, then I'm more okay with it to an extent. If these people are pirating the games, and then there's no way they didn't know that this was a thing going on. There's no way they didn't know it. If they didn't know that piracy was a problem, then they just haven't been paying attention to like any of those FBI warnings or anything ever. Honestly, if they didn't know that Nintendo had this EULA, I'm not sure how they didn't know, because it was such a big thing in the news, especially for people that are buying the Switch 2 within 2 weeks of it coming out. They had to have seen it. If they are pirating it, I don't really have any sympathy for them, because you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. But the fact that I want to see how Nintendo is confirming that this is pirated games. If they came out and said, hey, people are able to use this device, but the ones that we found, the ones that we banned, were ones that we were able to prove were pirated, that's one thing, but I really doubt that's the case. I I am willing to put money on it just being a simple matter of it recognized the software recognized a third-party device, especially a third-party device that maybe runs a piece of software like these are doing, and decided without any sort of review to, ban the device. That's what they're calling it. They're calling it banning the device because it seems like what it is the device is being banned from being able to access, not the account, the device is being banned from being able to access the online services. And since so much of Nintendo and so much of just gaming nowadays altogether requires you to access online services, that is effectively making the device useless. And the fact that Nintendo is switching to more and more of their cartridges and more of their games, like the physical copies of games you buy, just being licenses to, like, just being basically a key that allows you to download the game online, which means you would need to access the online service to access the game. They're effectively breaking devices. Even if that's not technically what they're doing, they're effectively breaking devices for reasons that I don't think they have any right to. The one funny thing I will say about this, kind of funny, if you want to, you have whatever. It's funny. Fuck you. Is the fact that just the article I saw, because I saw this article pop up about Nintendo banning people's Switches, and then I saw an article pop up that was, and then I saw it talk about the MIG Flash. I was like, okay, I want to make sure I know what that is. So I popped up the MIG Flash V2, and they had just put out a few days ago the MIG Flash V2, because apparently there's issues with people being worried about them having compatibility with the Switch 2. People really want them to have Switch 2 compatibility. So they released a new version that they touted as, yes, this one has compatibility with the Switch 2. This one is going to work for the Switch 2. And they're right, it does work for the Switch 2. To get your Switch 2 banned. So I thought that was kind of a funny bit of, like, my God, they should have tested this. They should have tested this before. I'm sure they tested it to make sure that it works for the Switch 2, but did they test it to make sure it didn't get the Switch 2 banned? I don't know. I saw this. I wanted to put out a quick update about this happening because it's very topical, and there's a lot of talk about when I put out the Switch 2s or Nintendo saying they can brick your Switch with their EULA. There's a lot of talk about, like, okay, well, this is still a very general statement, and some people are like, well, I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's just going to be targeting piracy, and it's just going to be if you illegally download this, and then other people being like, oh my God, they're going to brick it because I sneezed wrong. And this is kind of somewhere in the middle there. This is them bricking it because you used a third-party device that could be used for piracy, but I mean, innocent till proven guilty, man. Like, it's if they had if they were able to detect it, but I doubt they are. It's insane. But yeah, I want to put out a quick update there. I have a new video coming out detailing the Nintendo Palworld lawsuit in more detail coming out soon. I'm just waiting for some stuff to finish. And yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. There's this way. There's a oh my God, my brain's froze. There's a playlist over there. Like and subscribe if you want to see some of the new stuff that's coming out. Make sure to turn notifications on because I've been following this Nintendo Palworld lawsuit thing pretty closely. If that's something that interests you, and I'm turning on membership soon. It helped me pay my editor. Anyway, see you next time.